You think you've got your emergency fund figured out. You've read the articles, Dave Ramsey told you $1,000, Suze Orman said 3 to 6 months. Your financial advisor nodded approvingly when you hit 3 months of expenses in your high-yield savings account. You feel prepared, protected, financially responsible. You're about to get sieged. Because that advice, the neat, tidy 3 to 6 months of expenses rule, is based on a modern fantasy that emergencies are temporary interruptions in an otherwise stable system. But what if the emergency isn't temporary? What if it's a siege? For 1,000 years, castle architects understood something modern financial advisors seem to have forgotten. The question isn't, how long can I survive? The question is, how long can the enemy sustain an attack? And right now, your financial defenses are designed for a weekend camping trip, while the actual threats you face are designed to starve you out over months or years. Your 3-month emergency fund? That's a wooden fence. What you actually need is a fortress with a moat, redundant walls, and a year's worth of green in the keep. And by the end of this, you'll understand why the medieval siege defense system is the most accurate model for modern financial security we have. And then it gets worse. Now, take a look at this. In 1347, you're a lord of a moderately wealthy castle in northern France. Life is good. You've got fields, income from tenants, a solid stone keep. Then one morning, you see it on the horizon, an army. Thousands of soldiers, siege engines, supply wagons stretching for miles. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to wait, to surround your castle, cut off all supplies, and slowly, methodically starve you into submission. No one's storming the gates tomorrow. This isn't a quick raid. This is a siege, a war of attrition where the winner isn't the strongest, it's the one who can last the longest. And here's the terrifying part. You don't know how long they'll stay. Could be 2 months, could be 2 years. The longest siege in medieval history, Candia against the Ottomans, lasted 21 years. 21 years. So the question you face isn't, can I survive a bad week? It's, can I outlast an enemy whose entire strategy is to wait until I run out of food, water, and will to fight? Now translate that to your life. Your castle is your household. The siege is job loss in a terrible market, a major medical crisis, a lawsuit, a disabled family member needing years of care, a recession that kills your industry. These aren't weekend emergencies. These are financial sieges, crises designed to drain you slowly until you surrender. And your 3-month emergency fund? That's not a defense. That's a death sentence with a timer. Let me show you what actual financial defense looks like. You see, an emergency fund should cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. Put it in a high-yield savings account. That's the standard advice from every financial planner, every budgeting blog, every mainstream personal finance guru. The logic seems sound. Most job searches take 2 to 4 months. Most emergencies, car repairs, medical bills, broken appliances, are one-time costs. 3 months gives you a buffer, 6 months if you're conservative. It's clean, it's simple, it's based on averages. But that's only the version financial advisors who've never been sieged want you to remember. Because it's advice designed for a world where emergencies are temporary and isolated, where you lose your job but the economy's fine, where you have one medical crisis but you're healthy otherwise, where the problem is singular and solvable in a few months. The truth? Modern financial emergencies don't work that way anymore. You don't just lose your job, you lose it in a recession where hiring freezes last 18 months. You don't just have one medical crisis, you have ongoing treatment for a chronic condition insurance won't fully cover. You don't just face one lawsuit, you face years of legal battles. The threats you face aren't raids, they're sieges, and the financial advice you're following was designed for a world that no longer exists. Let me show you what medieval castle architects knew that Dave Ramsey apparently doesn't. Medieval lords who survived weren't the richest, they were the ones who understood defense in depth. A castle wasn't one wall, it was a layered system of defenses, each designed to buy time, absorb damage, and force the enemy to exhaust resources. Here's how it worked. Layer 1, the moat. First defense, liquid assets. The moat wasn't meant to stop the army, it was meant to slow them down and make the attack more expensive. Filling in a moat takes time, resources, and exposes your troops. Modern equivalent, your immediate cash emergency fund, checking account, instant access savings. This is 1 to 2 months of expenses, liquid and immediately available. This isn't your main defense, it's your early warning system and first buffer. It handles the immediate, small-scale attacks, car repair, medical copay, temporary income loss. If you only have this, you're already in trouble. Layer 2. The outer walls, secondary defense, medium-term reserves. Once the moat's crossed, the enemy hits the outer walls. These are thick, tall, defensible, but not impenetrable. The goal is to absorb the main assault and buy time for you to prepare deeper defenses. Modern equivalent, your 3 to 6 month emergency fund in a high-yield savings account. This is most people's only defense, which is why most people lose. This handles short-term job loss, moderate medical bills, temporary disability, standard emergencies. But if the siege lasts longer than 6 months, these walls fall, and if that's all you have, you're now exposed.
Layer 3. The inner keep. Core defense, long-term survival reserves. The keep was the fortress within the fortress. Thick stone walls, independent water supply, and most critically, a year or more of stored grain, salted meat, and preserved food. This wasn't paranoia, this was survival math. If the outer walls fell, the keep had to sustain the household for as long as the enemy was willing to wait. Modern equivalent, your 12 to 24 month deep emergency fund, the money most financial advisors never tell you to build. This is for long-term unemployment in a dead market, catastrophic medical situations, caring for a disabled family member, extended legal battles, business failure in a recession. This isn't pessimism. This is what actual financial security looks like. The lords who survived multi-year sieges weren't lucky. They were provisioned for reality, not averages. Layer 4. The escape tunnel. Backup plan. Alternative resources. The smartest castles had secret tunnels. If all else failed, you could escape, regroup, and rebuild elsewhere. Modern equivalent, a secondary income skill, freelance work, trade skill, side business, family or community network who would take you in, liquid assets that can be sold without destroying your future, not your retirement accounts. Those are seed corn. Geographic mobility, the ability to move for work if your region collapses. This is your plan B when the fortress falls, and every fortress eventually falls if the siege is long enough. The medieval system wasn't about being invincible, it was about outlasting the threat. The army besieging you had limited supplies too. They had to pay soldiers, feed horses, maintain morale. If you could last longer than they could afford to attack, you won. That's the question your emergency fund has to answer. Can you outlast the siege? And this is where modern advice becomes catastrophically dangerous, because financial advisors keep telling you to build a fence while the enemies you actually face are equipped for multi-year campaigns. Here's the part they never mention. The 3 to 6 month rule was invented in an economy that no longer exists. Now, the secret of the 3 to 6 month rule is advice designed for a stable, high-employment, predictable economy that died in 2008. In the 1990s and early 2000s, the average job search took 8 to 12 weeks. Layoffs were temporary. Markets recovered quickly. 3 months was reasonable. Then 2008 happened, and 2020, and 2023's banking crisis, and whatever's coming next. Now, the average job search in a recession takes 6 to 12 months. If you're over 50, add another 6 months. If your industry contracted, you're not finding equivalent work. You're retraining for a new career, which takes 12 to 24 months. Medical bankruptcies now average 18 months from diagnosis to financial collapse. Long COVID created millions of people with ongoing costs insurance doesn't cover. This wasn't an accident. It's a ticking bomb built into modern employment and healthcare systems, and financial advisors keep pretending the world of 1995 still exists. It's like watching a financial planner hand you a wooden shield and say, "This worked great against arrows in the 12th century, you'll be fine," while you're facing cannons. The threats evolved, the defenses didn't. Here's the thing though, if you follow the 3 to 6 month rule and face a 12-month job search in a recession, an 18-month medical crisis with ongoing costs, a 24-month legal battle, a disabled child requiring years of care, you lose. Not because you failed, because you built a fence against an army with siege engines. The advice isn't wrong for some emergencies, it's catastrophically insufficient for the likely ones. The Fortress Finance Framework. So what does actual financial defense look like? The 4 walls of Fortress Finance. Wall 1, the Moat, 1 to 2 months liquid, in checking or instant access savings. Handles immediate small-scale emergencies. Replenish immediately after use. Goal is speed and accessibility. This is your rapid response fund. Wall 2, the outer walls, 3 to 6 months, in high-yield savings, handles standard emergencies, short-term income loss. This is where most people stop. Don't stop here. Goal is buy time while you activate deeper defenses. Wall 3, the keep, 12 to 24 months, in conservative, accessible investments, money market, short-term bonds, conservative index funds you can liquidate without penalties. Handles catastrophic medical, extended crises. This is what separates survival from surrender. Most people never build this. That's why most people lose when sieges happen. Wall 4, the escape tunnel, skills, network, mobility. Secondary income skills, freelance work, family or community support system, geographic flexibility, marketable skills outside your primary career. This is your plan B when the fortress falls, and every fortress eventually falls if the siege is long enough. The survival formula is Moat plus outer walls plus keep equals 18 to 32 months total defense. That's not paranoia. That's what actual financial security requires in a world where job searches and recessions average 9 to 12 months. Medical crises can drain you for years. Industries can collapse permanently. Legal battles last 18 to 36 months. You're not preparing for a weekend emergency. You're preparing for a siege. And here's the mindset shift. Stop thinking, what if I lose my job for 3 months? Start thinking, what if the siege lasts 2 years? Because that's not worst-case scenario thinking. That's preparing for the actual threats you face. The castle lord who stored 6 months of grain and faced a 1-year siege, he lost. His family starved. His castle fell. The castle lord who stored 2 years of grain and faced a 1-year siege, he won. He outlasted the enemy. He survived to rebuild. Same castle, same army, different outcome, because one prepared for reality and one prepared for averages. Your 3-month emergency fund is preparing for averages. Averages don't care if you face the 2-year siege. They just tell you most people don't. Are you willing to bet your family's survival on being average? Look, I know what you're thinking. I can barely save 3 months. You're telling me I need 2 years? Yes, because the alternative isn't try your best and hope. The alternative is when the siege comes, and it will come, you surrender in 6 months and lose everything. The medieval lords who survived weren't richer than the ones who fell. They were more realistic about the threats they faced. Building a fortress takes time. You don't build 24 months of reserves overnight. You build it in layers. First year, build your moat, 1 to 2 months. Second year, build your outer walls. add 3 to 4 more months. Third year, start building the keep, add 6 to 8 more months. Fourth year, finish the keep, reach 12 to 18 plus months total. It's a multi-year project, but once it's built, you're unsiegeable. Job loss? You have 18 months to find work, plenty of time. Medical crisis? You can focus on health, not bankruptcy. Industry collapse? You can retrain without panic. You become strategically patient because you're not operating on a 90-day timer. The castle lords who built moats and stored grain weren't pessimists, they were realists. They understood that hope is not a defense strategy. You can hope the siege is short. You can hope the emergency is temporary. You can hope you're in the lucky average. Or you can build a fortress and not need hope at all. The walls don't care about your optimism. They care about whether you provisioned for reality. 3 months is a fence. 12 months is a wall. 24 months is a fortress. Which one are you building? Now, if you like my videos and more like this, please like and subscribe to my channel.